It arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning, a plain brown Amazon box left neatly on the porch. I hadn't ordered much for Halloween that year, just a few decorations to make the house look festive. Inside was the doll I'd picked, a small hanging ghost with a fabric body and a pale face, molded from plastic. It looked cheap online, but in person, something about it felt wrong. The air inside the box was cold, like the chill you get from opening an old cellar. The doll's face was painted white, with hollow black eyes, and a faint smile that seemed uneven. I brushed my thumb across its cheek and froze. It was damp, almost as if someone had been holding it. When I lifted it out, the small metal hook above its head jingled softly, though the air was still. For a moment, I thought I heard something behind me, the faint creak of the porch boards. But when I turned, nothing was there, just the empty yard and the sound of wind in the trees. Hanging it up. That evening, I hung the doll near the porch light beside the window. It swayed slightly as I tied the string around the hook. The porch light flickered once, like it wasn't sure it wanted to stay on. I stepped back to look at my work. Plastic pumpkins, a fake cobweb, and now the doll. It didn't look scary. It looked sad. Its head leaned a little to the left, and the smile looked more like a grimace up close. When I turned to go inside, I caught something out of the corner of my eye. The doll's head had moved. Not much, but enough that it was facing me. There was no wind. I stared for a while, waiting for it to turn back. It didn't. I tried not to think about it, but as the night went on, I kept noticing it through the window whenever I passed by. Always turned toward the house, always facing me. At around midnight, I shut off the lights and started upstairs. That's when I heard a soft thump from outside, then another. It was a slow, irregular tapping sound, wood on wood, like a rope swinging and bumping against the wall. I peeked out the window, and there it was. The doll was swaying gently, but the trees weren't moving. The air was completely still. I shut the curtains and went to bed, pretending I hadn't seen it. The next morning, I told my husband, Nate. He smirked and said, "Maybe you just freaked yourself out. It's a toy, not a demon." That evening, he went out to check for himself. He flicked the string, letting the doll spin loosely. "There," he said, smiling. "Just the air current, see?" He stepped back, hands on his hips, waiting for it to move again. But it didn't. It just hung there, perfectly still, facing him directly. No movement at all. The smile faded from his face for a second, but then he shrugged and went inside. "Creepy, but it's nothing," he said. I laughed a little, but my voice cracked halfway through. 2 days later, I noticed the paint on the doll's eyes looked darker, wet almost. I leaned in close and saw tiny cracks forming around the sockets, as if the paint was fresh. When I touched it, my finger came away with a faint smear of black. I wiped it off with a paper towel, threw it in the trash, and tried to ignore the chill crawling up my neck. That night, Nate came home from work and stopped by the window. He frowned. "Did you move that thing?" It's staring straight into the house. I looked out. He was right. It was pressed close to the glass now, facing inward. I didn't remember hanging it that close to the window. Around midnight, I woke up to a sound I couldn't place. It wasn't the usual creaks of the house or the hum of the fridge. It was footsteps, slow, deliberate, on the wooden porch. They stopped, then started again, softer this time. I nudged Nate awake. He grumbled and said, "It's probably the raccoons again." But when I went to the window, the porch was empty. The only thing there was the doll. swaying slowly, like something had just brushed past it. The next day, Nate decided to prove I was just imagining things. He set up his phone on the windowsill to record overnight. When we played the footage the next morning, the porch looked empty for hours. Then, at exactly 3:08 a.m., the doll turned. Not from swinging, not from a breeze. It turned smoothly, as if someone had twisted the string, and then it stopped, facing directly into the house. Nate stared at the screen, expression blank. He didn't say anything, just deleted the video. That evening, Nate said he wasn't feeling well. He complained of chills, said his chest felt heavy. I told him to lie down and rest, but he looked pale, almost gray. Later, I noticed faint red marks on his arms, like scratches. He said maybe it was from working in the garage, but I could tell he didn't believe it. He slept on the couch that night. Around 2 a.m., I heard him muttering in his sleep. At first, it sounded like gibberish. Then I caught one clear word: doorway. When I checked, he was shivering, whispering, "She's standing in the doorway." Outside, through the window, the doll's head seemed tilted lower than before, like it was watching him. The next morning, I decided to take the doll down. I couldn't stand looking at it anymore. I placed it on the dining table, planning to pack it up and return it. When I came back an hour later, it was gone. I found it lying near the sliding glass door, face up, staring at the ceiling. Its string was twisted tightly, as if it had been pulled. Nate swore he hadn't touched it. I didn't either. I tried to process a return on Amazon, but the product page didn't exist anymore. The image was gone. The seller's name was just blank space. The chatbot said, "We're unable to locate this item." Even my order history skipped from October 19th to 21st, as if the day I bought it never happened. I sealed it in its box anyway and left it by the door for pickup. But when I woke up the next morning, the box was open again. The doll was hanging back on the hook outside, its head now tilted in the opposite direction, facing my bedroom window. By Halloween morning, a strange scent filled the porch. It was sweet at first, like old perfume, but underneath was something sour. When I touched the doll's dress, it felt warm, not from sunlight. It was early, cold, and foggy. The warmth pulsed faintly, like it was breathing. I dropped it and stumbled back inside. Nate laughed weakly from the couch. "You're scaring yourself again," he said. But when I looked at him, he was sweating through his shirt. The air around him smelled the same way, sweet and rotten. That night, I heard whispering from the hallway. At first, I thought Nate was calling me, but the voice was softer, higher. It sounded like a woman, whispering my name. When I went to look, the curtains were moving even though the windows were closed. And there, hanging from the curtain rod, was the doll, inside the house. Its face pointed up toward the ceiling, the rope stretching tight. The sound stopped the moment I saw it. I didn't scream. I couldn't. I just backed away slowly, one step at a time. The next day, I couldn't take it anymore. I drove to a dumpster near the edge of town and threw it away. When I got home, there was a piece of folded paper on the porch. It looked like part of the original instruction sheet from the box. Most of the words were smeared, but one line stood out clear as day. "Never hang near a doorway after midnight." The ink looked fresh. When I looked up, I realized the front door had been slightly open. That night, I dreamed I was standing outside our house, watching from the street. The porch light flickered like it always did. The doll wasn't hanging anymore. It was standing on the steps, swaying gently side to side. And behind it, a tall, shadowy figure loomed. Its arms too long, its head bent too low. When I woke up, Nate was gone. I found him standing on the porch in the same place, staring at the doll. He whispered, "She doesn't want to leave." And for a split second, the doll's head twitched toward me. I never did send it back. Every time I try to print the return label, my computer crashes. The seller still emails me, short messages with no subject line. Just one word: waiting. Nate's in the hospital now. The doctors say it's pneumonia, but his x-rays look strange, like his lungs are burning from the inside. I keep the box sealed in the closet. Sometimes, late at night, I hear something shift inside. The faint creak of the string tightening. And every morning, I find the curtain near the door slightly open, like someone's been watching, waiting for me to come outside.